We're live.
Hi, my name is Lynette Elinda, and I am the author of Mathamagical, the audio journey, and this is Graham Wardle, the editor and producer of Mathamagical. We are here with
This is episode 6 of Reflections on the Journey, chapter 10, Mathamagical Rules.
Right, because there's a certain way that it's all set up, which I don't understand.
We worked it out now. It's all worked out.
Okay, so we're going to start with
saying hello to some people. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
We have a birthday today?
From around the world. Yes, I think it's Lynn's birthday today. So I saw in the comments people were wishing Lynn a happy birthday. So happy birthday, Lynn. We got people from New Zealand, France, from the UK,
nice.
North Carolina, lots of different places. So thank you. Welcome, everyone. This show is where we answer your questions about Mathamagical and specifically the chapter on Mathamagical Rules. So that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Important chapter.
Yes.
Very important chapter.
For those of you who are new, maybe this is the first time joining the show, go to mathamagical.com and you can enter a question there if you have a question. If you want to check out the Mathamagical audio journey, that's where you go, mathamagical.com.
And we will not be able to address all the questions. There are so many. So any questions that are not addressed on this Reflections of the Journey, I will be addressing on the Penthouse Perspective, which has begun and will continue ongoing, addressing any and everything that tends to come my way along the subject line that I can answer. So don't send me any questions about accounting or auto mechanics. I cannot help you for sure. But when it comes to this stuff, I can. Okay.
Awesome. So we're diving into rules today. So the Mathamagical rules are very important, but I want to know why they're helpful to understand the rules of the game. Because for me, I like to just play the game. Right. So like the rules kind of sometimes are a bit hard to like sit down and learn the rules. You just want to play. So why is it important that we learn the rules?
Yeah, these aren't really those kinds of rules. This isn't like studying a driver's manual, which I think most people don't study if you go by the way they drive. Okay, it's like I'm pretty sure you didn't read the manual. It's not those kinds of rules. The rules that I'm talking about could also be classified another way. We could refer them to or refer to them as divine law. Okay, and divine law is essentially how the game is structured to be played within. Okay, so let me see if there's another way I can say it. These are the rules for how to be a human, how to be a divine energy being having a physical human experience. And these rules will actually demonstrate themselves in everyday life. We will see them being demonstrated. You cannot break these rules, or for the sake of the book, they're called rules, but in true life, I would call them divine law. You can't break divine law, okay? You can't stop the sun from coming up. You cannot stop free will from being a part of the experience here. You cannot stop the first law, which is like attracts like. So these are the kinds of things that I'm talking about. And the reason that we want to understand the rules is because it completely changes how we play the game. It changes the power dynamic. It changes the fact around whether or not you can resolve conflict. When we understand how the game is designed to be played and we follow the rules that the divine creator made in order to sustain this whole experience, we start to change the game. We gain a tremendous amount of power, insight, awareness, and we can start to move through the game consistently. Okay, with absolute consistent positive momentum. I'm hearing a lot of people say, well, I'm stuck in this cycle and I'm stuck in that cycle, or this keeps happening. And this is exactly the kind of stuff I'm talking about. This is where we need to start to apply the rules. And then those stuck situations start to move forward. We know how to apply the rules to win the game.
So it's like, we want to understand the rules because otherwise we get stuck in patterns. We get stuck in the same situation over and over again.
And it's so important to understand. I don't know anybody that's gone to school that was ever taught like attracts like, that was ever taught, and it's expressed in the Bible as do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Okay. We are not taught these laws in a direct and really understandable, integratable way, most of us. Okay, in fact, it's not available in the matrix. In the current political, financial, medical, educational, or scientific world, these rules don't actually exist all in one place. Okay, so they're not taught to us. We, in my opinion, ought to be taught these rules as we're children. Like attracts like, energy never lies, energy never ceases to be, it can only change form. These are some of the rules that we're talking about. So we won't find them in the mainstream world, and it is that way on purpose, because the mainstream world really doesn't want us knowing how to become self-empowered and no longer dependent on it. So the rules are something that will only be understood, acquired, and applied by somebody who is practicing free will choice to learn the rules. And if you're ready to learn the rules, if you're ready to have a deeper understanding of who and what you are, the universe will accommodate you, I promise. You'll get everything you need.
And these rules then set you free then, because if you
Yeah,
can,
when
once you learn
applied.
these, when applied, these rules set you free to not be dependent upon an exterior parent,
power
or
source.
something.
This
Yeah.
comes back to what we've talked about in other episodes about being internally powered or externally driven.
Yeah.
If we learn how to apply the rules, we become more and more confident. They become more and more habitual, okay? The patterns that keep us stuck are essentially habitual patterns. This is what we could call karma. When we stop following those habitual patterns, beginning to make conscious choices that align with who and what we are, we automatically gain the ability to move forward and unstuck ourselves from the different situations, okay? We're here to transmute and transcend. And if we're sitting in cycles that we're repeating over and over again, then we're not playing the game correctly. You can play that way as long as you want. It's not bad or wrong, but it's not how the game is designed to be played.
Yeah.
However, having said that, being stuck is also a part of the experience. We need to understand what being stuck is, what it's about, that we don't desire it, which then becomes the motivation to apply the rules to get out of it.
So let's talk about being stuck, because one of the rules is you say that energy always follows attention. So let's say I'm feeling stuck, I'm feeling really down in my life, and I continue to focus on those reasons or those aspects, so I feel even more down.
First thing, change your focus. That's one of the rules. Energy follows attention. Like attracts like. And it will either attract to you your exact mirror or your opposite, depending on what you need in that moment. So if your mirror is something you don't desire, you want to activate the polarity. You want to start to tell a story that makes it possible for you to transition out of the reality or the experience that you're not enjoying. Begin by telling a new story. And a lot of us are like, well, I can't tell a new story. You know, that's not what's actually happening. It's like, wait a minute. We want to remember that we create our reality now. And if we want to start to experience a new future, in spite of what we might be seeing in our physical reality that we don't like, that we are not appreciating, we have to fake it till we make it. And in that moment, if you can apply the new story, in spite of what you might be seeing that is undesirable, you start applying that new story and you'll find that within a small amount of time, usually your reality will start to transition in small ways. This is what I call bearing fruit. And then you start to pay attention to the fruit as you notice pieces start to move, things start to change. You get a phone call, somebody called to apologize, or somebody sent out a message that said, hey, I'd like to reach out. I'd like to talk about the situation we've been stuck on. Any manner of miracle and magic can come into the game at this point because we have stopped resisting what is. What you resist will persist. Okay. So we stop resisting what is. We have to accept it, however. Okay. Without resistance, when we go, okay, I get it. This is what's going on. Yeah, I accept it. But I'm going to change it. I'm not going to resist it. And this is going to ask for us to do things like practicing forgiveness and loving self-care. It sounds really simple, but it's not really easy. Okay. And it definitely requires that we be present in the moment now. Do not create resistance. We must accept and then begin to integrate, shifting the story to a new perspective of one that we wish to be experiencing. Gradually, fake it till you make it. Act as if. And this is where the tool I call the love list really comes in very handy. Okay.
Yeah, it's good. But the one thing I want to clarify is that the fake it till we make it is not going into denial. It's not. No. Like, well, I'm going to.
Denial is resistance.
Okay.
Denial is resistance. To act as if it's not happening. And we don't even realize that we're doing it. And it happens in a nanosecond. Okay. It's a maladaptive coping mechanism, and it's perfectly understandable. And by no means is it a reason to judge yourself or anyone else. We're not wrong or bad. We're simply doing what we were taught. And we want to start to change the habits, the maladaptive coping mechanisms, I call it, that do not serve us, that keep us stuck. Okay. So deny, deflect, distort, or delay. Okay, the 4 Ds, these will keep us stuck. We have to accept, and it's in the acceptance that the work really comes in, because we might have to say, for example, accept a difficult situation that we're in, and in order to transcend it, we may need to take responsibility for something that we don't feel very good about. And that's where we have to practice self-love and forgiveness and blowjobs to be loving, open, and willing, not Joe jobs, judgments, opinions, and expectations. This is where we start to understand that to truly awaken, We have to practice in each moment now, 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 and that creates our future. The past is gone and the future never gets here. When it does, it's now. Our power is in the now. If we go into denial, we create resistance and we keep ourselves stuck. This also happens with denial, deflection, distortion, or delay. And these are very, very, very common maladaptive coping mechanisms for most humans. So please don't think you're special if you're practicing those. It's pretty much what most people do until we learn how to transcend these maladaptive ways of coping with stress and challenge. So denial doesn't do it. Acceptance. Acceptance is the key.
Let's give an example for people. Let's say I'm looking for a job and I can't find a job and I really need to pay my bills. And I don't want to go into denial that I have, my bills are just going to pay themselves. How do I fake it till I make it? How do I fake it till I get that job?
First of all, stop telling a story that says I can't find a job. Stop that right now. I have found the perfect job. Bring it to the current tense. That opens a window of possibility to begin to move towards a new reality. And no, we don't want to deny that we've got bills to pay. Everybody does. What we then want to do is take our focus off of the bills, not in denial. We accept them. We can just compartmentalize that and start to focus on what we have to appreciate. Do you have enough in this moment right now? Remember, now. Do we have what we need in this moment right now? And if you do, that's okay. It'll get you to the next moment. And literally, we switch timelines, okay? And a timeline is essentially a storyline that we're following. And one storyline that doesn't serve us, that isn't what we want, can be shifted to another timeline that is one that we do want. It just takes a little bit of work to shift those timelines. And energetically, I can actually feel myself shifting timelines. And I can see it in the people that I work with. I can see when they're shifting a timeline, when they're ready to transcend, when they're ready to have an epiphany or a paradigm shift and shift to another reality. And what it feels like in my body is actually like, I don't know if many of you have ever been on a train, but I've had the great pleasure of crossing Canada by train a couple of times, and it was an extraordinary journey. And when the train is changing tracks, you can literally feel it. Train change tracks, okay? So the more sensitive we become energetically, the more in tune we are with the intuitive system through the mathematical connection, the more we can feel these changes coming. And that inspires us to stay focused on the solution and not fall back into the problem, okay? Again, we want to remember one of the rules here is that everything comes in pairs. Good, bad, right, wrong, in, out, bad, good, problem, solution, okay?
There's lots of them.
There's lots of them, all right? Night, day, adult, child. We want to remember that the problem and the solution come in the same envelope. The only question that really remains is which one are you going to put your attention upon and which one are you going to consistently return your attention to through conscious focus. So it's like switch, switch, switch. Oh, I'm tired. Yeah, I know. Keep going. Switch, switch. And this is where I say, chop wood, carry water, one foot in front of the other. Keep going. One of the false belief systems that we've been taught is that, gosh, I just lost it. One of the false belief systems we've been taught is instant gratification.
Yes.
Okay, that we flip a switch, pop a pill, flap down your credit card, and you get what you want right away, no effort. Well, this is not applicable to spiritual awakening and awareness. Okay, we did not create these maladaptive habits overnight, and we're not going to turn them around overnight either. They absolutely can be turned around, and they will be turned around inevitably, one way or another, one lifetime or another. It's just a question of how much we suffer in between. If we consciously begin to play the game according to the rules and the way that the game was created by our divine source, you can start to move forward and you absolutely will transcend. My own life, I have transmuted and transcended so much that I am beyond a shadow of a doubt, knowing that every situation can change timelines if you hold the focus. Because one of the rules, the first rule is like attracts like. If we have a situation that comes in front of us, a person, I think this addresses one of our questions.
Oh, this is, you're covering so much, so keep going.
Okay. And you're going to have to go back and listen because I apologize. When the channeling comes through, it comes through really quickly. And this is slowed down after years of practice of slowing it down. So when we understand like attracts like, we will also understand that if we've attracted a situation, a person, a relationship that's in restricted state, that's in resistant state, that's in conflict, that's a problem, there is some aspect of ourselves that has attracted this. Okay. So let's say, for example, we've attracted someone who is treating us very unkindly. Okay. First of all, don't take it personally. And it may be a person who treats you in a way that you would never treat other people. Okay. So you'd go, well, I'm not like that at all. Why am I attracting that situation? Well, it may be that you're attracting the situation to transmute it, to accept that these situations happen. And even though that may not be a way that you would ever behave, if you create resistance to it, you've now got another kind of problem. So the challenge becomes, can you accept anything and everything that comes your way, accepting that there is some aspect within yourself that needs this mirror, even if it's a negative one. There's going to be some part of you perhaps that doesn't believe you deserve to be treated with respect, in which case apply a boundary. Is there some part of you that deep down that you're in denial of, that believes that you're doomed to repeat this cycle because that's always the way that's been? Please remember, the ego tells these stories quick and quiet, okay? And they pass by in a nanosecond. This is why I encourage practicing meditation. Meditation over time allows us to become habitually present in the moment. You just become more and more present. I'm sure you can speak to this after meditating yourself.
For sure. And that's one of the things I wanted to bring up, was that there is a meditation at the end of this chapter that is perfect for exactly what you're talking about shifting that attention to who and what you really are. And reconnecting to that power.
And continue to shift and continue to shift while accepting whatever comes your way. Now, when I say acceptance, I'm not talking about tolerating abuse. I'm not saying you have to like it. I'm not saying you have to approve of it or learn to live with it. I'm saying we do have to accept it for what it is. From that place, there's no resistance, and we can begin to transition out of it. So this is key. This is really key to moving out. This is a really important rule. What you resist will persist. I think it's a great idea. Yes. Draw a name.
We also have a hat that we draw names for people who have entered to win a free copy of Mathamagical. And if you would like to win, we have one episode. Sorry?
I wonder if this is... Okay. We've actually had a couple of incidences where people's names have been drawn a couple of times. Sorry for that. Sally's very efficient.
Yes.
And this name, these names that are in the hat, drawing for copies of Mathamagical, I will take with me to the Penthouse Perspective.
Yes.
And Graham will also be joining me for an episode of the Penthouse Perspective as well. We will be taking forward these names and drawing for more copies in the Penthouse Perspective. So please don't give up if your name hasn't been drawn yet. We're not done.
If you haven't won, don't worry. The names are going forward.
Yeah. I'm not taking the hat though. I'm going to be using a singing bowl. It doesn't have any. Anyway.
This hat's never been worn, okay?
It has so. I've seen him wear it. Okay, all right. Julia Serrano.
Julia Serrano, congratulations.
Okay. Sally will send you a copy of the book. Also, I'd like to remind people, if you're struggling, Sally's mentioned there's been a number of questions and queries. If you're struggling with any issues about downloading Mathamagical, including purchasing from another country, I encourage you to message hello@supercast.com.
Email.
Yeah. Yes, right. What did I say?
You said message, but
message, email,
I think people get that.
Smoke signal, whatever gets the job done. Okay, so send them a message and they will be able to answer those questions for you. They are being paid to do that. So please use their services. Thank you.
So one of the other rules that you talk about in this chapter is that energy never lies. So why is this such a significant understanding to have in the Mathamagical game?
Well, for myself, being an adept empath, somebody who reads energy at very, very subtle levels through multiple different senses, I would have to say that I literally couldn't survive without the ability to read energy accurately and clearly. We can lie with our words. Thoughts lie. We can write something down that is a lie. And we're seeing a lot of that right now in mainstream reality, okay? In the matrix, as I like to refer to it as. We're seeing a lot of lies. And what we want to recognize is that once we connect to the mathematical system, the intuition becomes so much stronger. And intuition enables us to read the energy of a situation which cannot lie. Energy does not lie. Words lie, thoughts lie, books lie, tell lie, vision lies. Okay, I like to call it tell lie vision programming. So be very careful, be very discerning, whatever you're taking in, make sure that it is actually true. So we want to recognize what kind of energy we're tuning into. So the energy that I'm talking about is the energy that you can feel, not through tactile touch, but the energy that you feel. For example, you love somebody, you feel that love. We're talking about the feeling body. We have an elemental physical body, we have a mental body, we have a feeling body. Okay, then we have a soul or a memory body, we have a guardian body, we have a causal body, and then we have an electronic body. I will be going into these subjects deeper on the penthouse perspective, but for the sake of today's argument, I want you to understand that you're actually interpreting energy every day, in every moment, in every way, through that feeling body. It cannot lie to you. And this is why intuition is so powerful, because intuition doesn't lie. The ego lies, stories lie. Things that we say are true can lie, but energy doesn't lie. The intuitive body allows us to be able to tune into that and know whether or not somebody or a situation is a lie. When I was a little girl, I used to refer to it as good jiggy jiggy and bad jiggy jiggy, and I'll still use it today. It's a very effective way. It's pretty black and white. A situation either feels good in that energy body of feeling, or it doesn't, or it might feel a little bit iffy, in which case, be discerning, take some time, sip, don't gulp, proceed with caution, always wise. If you ever walked into a room and you were feeling really great, and you walked into a room and someone was feeling really depressed, you feel that energy in the room, and then you say to them, how you feeling? And they go, oh, I'm fine. And you're going, oh, you're so not. Yeah. Your words are saying one thing, but your energy is saying another. And I cannot tell you through the intuitive senses how many times in any given day I will see somebody contradict with their words and actions what their feeling body is actually saying. And how many of us don't tune in and know how to tune in to our own energy body, so we don't even realize we're lying to ourselves about how we actually feel. And this is critical. This is an essential rule to come to understand if we want to learn how to successfully navigate through the game and come out a winner.
What about, Lynette, if you are in a situation where you really want things to be a certain way, so you're kind of like, you're not able to really tune in to know that that energy is, you know what I'm saying? Like if I really want to buy this house, okay, and I'm like, I really want to buy this house, so I'm not really tuning into the energy of it because I'm so attached. So attachment can really interfere with that, right?
Well, yeah, and we want to talk about needs versus wants there, and this is, again, another really big subject. And please understand that on all of these subjects, we're only just touching the surface. There's so much here. But we don't have to have a really deep understanding of these things in order to benefit and move forward. Okay, so the basics are letting go of needs versus wants. And this is where faith needs to come into understanding that we will not always get what we want, but we will get what we need. And sometimes, for example, if we're rejected from a situation or rejected from a relationship, we want to see that that's actually usually a way that the universe is protecting us. Rejection is protection. You could look at it like that, okay? So if a situation isn't going with an ease and a flow, one of my tips and tools, when in line with divine, everything will go with an ease and a flow. It'll just come with synchronicity, click, and just be exactly what you need, okay? When that's happening, it's telling you that's what's happening is for your highest good, ease and flow, keep going. If you're meeting with resistance and you don't know, then it may be that your head wants something that the divine magical heart is saying is actually not in your best interest, but you can't see it from this current perspective. This requires faith. This requires a lot of maturity, and this requires letting go very often of the desire for material possessions. I find it so ironic how many people pursue the material for the sake of the material and not realizing that if we pursue that inner mathemagical connection, the material is a byproduct. It just comes without effort. What you want, what you dream about, what you put your attention upon when you're in alignment with who and what you are will automatically come with an ease and a flow. I've learned to let go. If not this, better is a wonderful mantra here. If not this, better. Again, it requires that we develop a relationship of faith with our higher power, whatever we deem that to be, divine source. Many people know it by many different names. It doesn't really matter. All roads lead to Rome. Divine source is the divine source of all that is, all that ever was, and all that will ever be. When we understand that this divine source loves us more than we can even comprehend, wants for us the best that we could ever possibly experience, we learn to surrender to that. We create less resistance. Life starts to go with an ease and a flow, and things just start to happen. What we want just comes, and we'll say, okay, that situation, that person doesn't want me. And the next day, something else comes along and you go, whew, dodged a bullet. Thank goodness I let it go, because something so much better came the next day. When one door closes, another one opens. It can just be a bit of a bugger in the hallway in between. And that's where we apply all the tools in order to stay in that balanced place while the universe is moving things around. This or better, this or better.
Okay? But it's not like, there is work to do, but it's not the work that's the exterior. It's the interior work of aligning yourself.
Yes,
and
yes.
That's actual, it is work. Like
it's definitely work. It's definitely work. A lot of us think that by changing our physical story, the 3D reality, that we're going to change our reality. You're not. The 3D physical story is a byproduct of the internal world. So when we begin to change the way we address our reality, understanding we're energy beings first, you change the inner energy, and that's going to change. But we can change the inner energy, belief systems, the structure within ourselves without necessarily seeing immediate results in the physical reality. Okay? Energy is outside of space and time. Energy just is what it is. Okay? It doesn't have a beginning or an end. It just transitions. The physical reality, however, works within a clock, a space-time clock, and it can take time for a situation to play itself out in our physical reality. And that's one of the biggest challenges that we face. And we want to remember one of the rules, which is how and when is not our job. How the circumstances change and when they change is really not our job. That's up to divine source. We want to practice being patient in a faithful state of non-doubt while it transitions, and checking in with intuition. Again, it requires that we wear a lot of hats.
It's like really riding a wave, like you're surfing.
Oh yeah,
like
very much.
You know, you have to be always in tune in the present moment, riding that wave.
Yeah, ebb and flow.
Yeah.
Ebb and flow. Know when to hold, know when to fold. Okay.
Great song.
This is why we got to live in the moment now, because everything we need, that's one of the rules. Everything you need is in the moment now. Can you tune into the moment now? Let go of that external reality that may not be what you want, while you focus on the internal so that the external can change. Simple, but not easy. Simple, but not easy.
Awesome.
Okay.
We have another great rule here that I want to touch on, and then we're going to get to some questions on the YouTube chat here.
Okay.
Lynette, you talk about one captain per ship, and personally, this is my favorite rule. Can you share with everyone why you can't actually save anyone else and no one can save you? There's only one captain per ship.
Okay. I realize from the physical 3D perspective, it looks like there's lots of people here. Like if I do this, he's solid. And if I keep doing it, he's probably going to tell me to stop because it's annoying, right? Okay. So Graham is very definitely a different physical presence next to me. And it appears that we're separate here, and it appears that there's two of us here. But that's not actually true. The truth is there's really only one of us here. And at higher levels of this experience, you are the only one in your story. Nobody else actually exists. And I get that that's a bit deep, but don't worry about it. You don't have to understand that fully to understand what I'm saying. We want to recognize no one can save us and we can't save them. And anybody who's lived more than a few years is going to recognize this to be true. Why? Because there's really only one of us here. We are each given free will. We are each at this level where we appear to be separate, the captain of our own ship and responsible for the decisions that we make. We're responsible for the actions that we take. It would not be fair or just, and it would completely create absolute chaos if we were held responsible for the actions and choices that somebody else made from a completely different perspective that we may not agree with or resonate with at all. So we are the captain of our own ship. No one is coming to save us because we're here to master energy and emotion and learn how to save ourselves. So in a really simple way, you could say we've come here to screw up so that we can master cleaning up. And we're not held responsible for what somebody else is doing because at the highest level, they're not actually here. You're the only one here. We appear to be separate. That's just part of the game board, but we aren't actually separate. When we remember the truth of who and what we are, you'll note that you begin to align. The people that I keep company with are all people that are taking responsibility for themselves, which means you've got a good, responsible captain at the helm of that ship. It's not going to run aground. It's not going to crash into you. I recall a ferry that ran into a Russian freighter out here a few years ago. Okay, that kind of thing doesn't happen when we take responsibility for our own experience, recognizing it isn't actually possible for us to save anyone else or for them to save us. We must do this ourselves. Why? Because at the highest level of this experience, you are the only one here. There is only one of us here. Okay? Does that help?
Yeah, I think that's great. And also it kind of speaks to the beauty of life, of like, if it was possible to save someone else, then you wouldn't have to do any work. You just wait for your savior to come and save you.
Yep. What would be the point?
What
You
would be the
wouldn't
point?
learn anything. There would be no mastery. It
Yeah.
would be really, really boring. And this is something else, just a little bit of a sidebar I run into when people come to me for readings. I do have the ability. I'm clairvoyante. I can see the future. I can see the past. I have multiple sensitivities, and people will come to me, usually people that don't have an understanding of energy, and say, tell me all about my future. What's my future? And I'm like, well, what would you like it to be? I can tell you where you are right now because I read each person like a map. I can tell you where you are right now, but where you go is determined by the individual who is either recognizing that they're the captain of their own ship or not. Okay, so somebody who says, tell me what my future is about, tell me what my future is going to hold for me, isn't somebody who recognizes they're the captain of their own ship and that you, the captain, chart the course. You chart the course for your ship's journey. You have to take into account that the universe might have a few things for you to take care of, like karmic cycle, but otherwise, you're in charge.
Well, I want to dive into the karmic cycle because I know you have things to say about that, but I want to also bring up Christine Davies says, but you can also reach out for help. So even though you're the captain of your own ship, doesn't mean you have to do it all yourself.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Again, truth is paradox. What it looks like at one level is not what it looks like at another level. And this can really get tricky because you'll also hear me say, yes, we are the captain of our own ship, but enlightenment is a team sport. Okay, so definitely we want to reach out for service and support and to be guiding and supporting one another. Okay, so for example, in Graham's and my relationship, we support one another, we guide one another, we share with one another from a place of integrity. And as a result, we become a truly sustainable and valuable support for each other going forward. And this is where discernment is so important, making sure that if you're going to enlist the support and service of someone else, that they actually be a good captain of their own ship, because if they've crashed their ship, odds are they're going to help you crash yours. Okay. So make sure that you practice discernment. And this is where I say, as you're getting to know people, sip, don't gulp. Take your time and pay attention to how that person is living their life. Is their perspective one that you would actually give value? Are they living a life that you respect, that you wish to also model in your own life? Okay. So before I give anybody's opinion any value, I will take time, and often years of time, discerning whether or not I appreciate and wish to emulate the way that this person is living. Okay. So
that's great. You brought up karma, and I know for myself, I didn't have a full understanding of karma. I'd heard it before, and I always thought that if you could get good karma, you could get bad karma, and you tip the jar, and there's good karma jar, and there's the bad karma when you cut somebody off in traffic. So you do talk about in the book that the universe is keeping score, whether you are keeping score or not.
Energy never lies, and everything that we do has an energetic signature, and this is what somebody with heightened intuitive sensitivities can read, and this is what we are all actually moving towards, being able to read that heightened intuitive energetic system. So
if you break a rule, do you acquire karma?
Yes, you do. And karma is essentially rules being broken and being recorded. Now, when we say rules are being broken, don't take on the idea that it says you're bad or wrong, because essentially breaking the rules is a part of the game, so that we learn to kind of put them back together again. I'm trying to break down some pretty big existential truths into simple terminology. Okay. So karma is a lack of awareness, which you could also call breaking the rules. Okay. When we become aware of the rules, we actually start to release ourselves from the karmic cycle, which is a lack of awareness. Okay. There is no good karma. There is no bad karma. There is karma, which is a lack of awareness of who and what we are and how to play the game correctly in simple terms.
Okay.
The opposite of karma, or once we've recognized, the wheel of awareness and the wheel of lack of awareness, once we've recognized we have a problem and we transcend that problem, we now become free of it. So the opposite of karma is freedom. Anybody telling you that there's such a thing as good karma and bad karma, this person does not actually know who and what they are. And I suggest that you take with a grain of salt everything that you hear come out of their mouths. Because somebody who's truly aware, somebody who has awoken, at least to a certain degree, understands there is no punishment and rewards. There is simply, are you aware of how to play the game or not? If you do not take free will choice into account and choose to learn how to play the game, being responsible for being the captain of your own ship, then that lack of awareness, that karmic cycle will just continue and continue and continue. And you'll carry that forward with you into your next lifetime and the one after that and the one after that. The more aware we are of who and what we are, the more in tune we are, the more of the lack of awareness, the more of the karmic wheel we essentially clear. Okay, cancel out, transmute. This turns into freedom, which is what the mathematical connection is all about.
So we should have a freedom jar for tips.
Yes, a freedom jar for
good
tips.
Karma.
So if you decide not to tip your server, don't allow them to guilt trip you and think that you're going to have bad karma, okay? Because there are some servers, in my experience, that I do not want to give a tip. And in fact, giving a tip to a server that has not given you good service because you feel obligated to is actually bad karma. Okay, that's the negative wheel of awareness. And you've essentially abandoned yourself and your own good values in favor of somebody else's shame or blame or obligation.
Okay, I've done that before.
Okay, oh, we've all done it. Oh, we've all done it. The only way that we become aware that we're doing it is when it starts to become such a hefty price that we stop doing it. We start realizing that if we don't come from a place of integrity to be whole, okay, to be within, to be internally powered, if we don't come from that place, then we are subject to being controlled by the maladaptive coping mechanisms of our external characters and players and story. Okay, so do I feel bad if I don't give a very poor service a tip? No, I do not feel bad. I'm sorry, I don't. The entitlement that says I served you, therefore you should give me a big fat tip, that's the problem. If you buy into that problem because you aren't practicing discernment, now you're going to have a maladaptive coping mechanism that's going to repeat over and over and over again until you recognize that it doesn't actually serve you.
What I love about this is that I have unconsciously just tipped because I'm kind of like, if it's a bad service, I just won't go back. But what I'm getting from this is that by honoring this understanding of integrity, that then when I do choose to tip, if I'm tipping based on not a social pressure or not wanting to be, upset them, then when I do tip, it's going to be much more in integrity. I can tip better.
Yes.
I can actually appreciate those people better.
You're actually not enabling.
And not enabling.
We're not enabling, okay?
Yeah, I like this. This is
if
good.
somebody behaves in a way it's completely unacceptable, okay? And I have been in restaurants where the service has literally been so poor, I mean, bordering on rude, okay? And I tip that person. That essentially says to them, it's okay to do this.
Right.
And they're just going to keep doing it. And you could draw a line between that and a 2-year-old child indulging a 2-year-old's behavior and not addressing the behavior and saying, well, like I can think of my daughter who got a big bright red tube of lipstick and decided to color. She called it lipspake. And she colored on the walls with this brand new tube of red lipspake. And I could allow that behavior to continue, in which case she's going to do it again and again, and I'm going to have to repaint and repaint. Or I can address the behavior and say, this is not correct. Crayons are for paper, lipspake is for lips. Okay, she eventually got that. But we have to correct the behavior. We do not necessarily recognize, however, that we have a right to lay a boundary when somebody outside of us is out of alignment and inappropriate. And I'm not saying lay it aggressively. I'm saying clearly and gently, gracefully, wherever possible. But do lay that boundary. Otherwise, you're enabling the dysfunction. You're enabling the lack of awareness, the karmic wheel. You're saying it's okay for you to treat me like this, and I'm going to tip you.
Yeah.
Right?
Interesting.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah, you can transfer that one to a lot of different relationships.
We got a few more rules that we want to cover here just because I think
let's draw another name.
Are really interesting, but we're going to draw another name first. Is it my turn? Can I do this?
Yeah, okay. Can you? I don't know. Can you? Are you able? I can hear my mother saying, are you able? May I?
May I draw? Oh, did I get two?
That one open first.
Michelle Morrow. Congratulations.
Hello, Michelle.
You have won a free copy of Mathamagical, and Sally will send you a free copy.
Great.
So we got a few more questions here, and we got questions that I want to get to that are on paper, and then we got questions in the chat. So
much.
We'll blast through this next one here because this is one of my favorites. Actually, is that you're never overloaded. This is a rule that you're never overloaded. Right. But why does it feel sometimes like you are?
Well, because it's
And
the
what do we
path to
do?
mastery.
Okay.
Okay. We are divine creative beings. Okay. This is not kiddie classroom. Okay. This is real, this experience. The tip and the tool that I like to send along with this one is divine grace never takes you anywhere that it cannot guide you and protect you. The question becomes, do you accept that guidance and protection? It doesn't mean that we may not be facing situations that are difficult, and God knows so many of us. In fact, I don't think there's anyone on the planet right now that isn't challenged by what's going on. We want to remember at times like this that it's darkest before the dawn, and that is also one of the times when it is most challenging to hold the positive focus. This is a time for mastery. This is a time to reach in and ask for that guidance and the support and activate all the positivity that you've got. And remember that it's darkest before the dawn. And typically when we're feeling completely overwhelmed and overloaded, it is absolutely a time to surrender and let go. This is where the universe is saying, this is really big. I'm going to take it from here, providing you let go. Now, while you let go, there may still be some things that you need to do. Okay, but let the universe, let divine source do the heavy lifting. Surrender. If it becomes overwhelming, take a break, take a step back. Or if you cannot leave the particular situation, take a breath, breathe. Step back into that now moment of remembering who and what you are and watch the circumstances begin to decrease in intensity. Okay. It doesn't mean, however, though, that this is always going to be easy. It isn't. It is very simple. The tools are very, very simple, but they're not easy to apply. And it does, especially right now, feel like we are being given more than we can handle. And I want to say that is not true. It is not doom and gloom time. It is rise and shine time. Hold the focus. Go within for that strength. There is an inexhaustible supply of power, of support, of insight, of miracles, of magic inside of you. If you practice through free will, being the captain of your own ship, and go and get it, and go and get it again, and go and get it again, and again, and again. Welcome to life.
Awesome. We're going to jump over to some questions from supporters here online. So thank you for everyone who sent in a question to mathamagical.com.
They're all being recorded.
And if we don't answer them on this show, like Lynette has said, she will touch on them on the Penthouse. So we got Kathy. She says, there are moments when I am taken advantage of because I am loving and kind, forgiving and tolerant. Moments when someone has figured out that they realize they can do this to me. What do you do in these situations? Do you stand up for yourself or just let it be?
First thing I would say to you is you aren't being in that moment the captain of your own ship, and this is not a judgment. This is simply that you have not yet become aware of your inner power. Okay, we allow people to do this, whether we're conscious of it or not. And then when somebody realizes that they can get away with this, that's another place for you to lay a boundary that says, actually, no, now that I see that you are not deserving of my kindness, I'm going to lay a boundary. Again, I would say sip, people, don't gulp. A lot of us believe that if we go around just being kind and generous and sweet and happy and loving with everybody, that somehow we're going to get that in return. And I learned this one the hard way. That is simply not true. So I am a very kind, a very loving, and a very, very generous person. And I will be kind and I will be generous and I will be loving to a point. Now, at that point, if I come to discern before investing, okay, if I come to a point where I see that this person is not appreciating, they're not respecting, and they're not reciprocating, then I'm not going to do it. And when I say reciprocating, I don't mean they have to do something for me because I did something for them. What I mean is that they're not reciprocating respect. Okay, I'm respecting them. Are they respecting me? We also do want to start to recognize at a certain point, we treat people or we teach people how to treat us. Okay. And if we're somebody that doesn't hold loving boundaries for ourselves, recognizing that we're giving to someone who doesn't appreciate it or respect it, if we don't hold those loving boundaries, this is like open game for predators, for people who feel like, oh, wow, you're really dumb. I'm just going to take advantage of you. There are people out there like that. It's just really hard when we're kind and loving people to respect and recognize that there are people out there like that, because we would not be that way ourselves. And I have to pretty much say, anybody who's tuning in right now, listening to this, who's listening to my material, who's listened to Mathamagical, you are definitely going to be on the kind side of the spectrum. So instead of bleeding out your power and your kindness, become discerning, create healthy boundaries, and don't allow it. Because there are absolutely people that are going to take advantage of that. And we're seeing that at epic levels on the planet right now. So be discerning, start to take responsibility, clean up your boundaries. If you're seeing leaks in your boat where you're giving attention, time, energy, and resources to someone that doesn't respect and appreciate it, then lay boundaries. And sometimes it may come to a point where we can't even interact with that person at all. And sometimes we'll have a relationship where somebody might start out being really wonderful, really loving and kind, and it's a terrific connection. And then over time that dwindles. And you may find that boundaries that you did not need to initially lay become boundaries that you do eventually need to lay. And sometimes that's enough for the person to go, wow, I fell back asleep. I'm so sorry. Thank you for reminding me that I do not have the right to treat you this way. I'm back on track. And sometimes it'll be people say, yeah, well, you know what, if you're not going to let me take advantage of you, then I'm out of here. Okay. Again, this or better. Remember, one door closes, another one will open. It can just be a tricky hallway in between. Okay. So practicing faith, all these tools, remember, spiritual awakening, raising our own awareness is a circular learning pattern. It doesn't go in a straight line. Okay. We have to use a little bit of this, a dash of that, a pinch of this. It's a little bit like cooking. Right? It's not necessarily one specific tool. I hope that answers.
I think that's good. Hopefully Kathy enjoys that answer. Helena says, you said turn your pain into magic and make magic in yourself. Can you explain this?
Yes, I have experienced, speaking from personal experience, I've experienced some, as you know, everybody has at one time or another. I'm just speaking for myself. I have experienced some deeply traumatic and painful events. And when I came to realize that those events, circumstances, situations were actually designed to teach me, to raise my awareness, when I learned the lesson, I turned that pain, or a sow's ear, into a silk purse. I then came to recognize that by transmuting the pain, by not identifying with the pain and going deeper into it as a victim, by transmuting that pain, transcending, transmuting, and rising up, I became more powerful as a result of it. So everything that comes my way that is a challenge or that people would call a problem or a bad thing or a negative thing, I don't see them that way. I see them as an opportunity for me to take a situation that could potentially be extremely painful. And I don't want to get into the stories, but there's been extremely painful situations that I have had to transcend. And in that transcendence, it became power. It became magic. It became freedom. Okay? Our pain is designed to show us where we need to bring awareness. Our pain is designed to show us where we need to remember who and what we are. And when we do that, that pain transcended becomes power.
And that's the magic you're talking about.
That's the magic.
Yeah.
That's the magic. You now have the awareness, the experience from learning that lesson and transcending it now becomes a power and a tool that you can apply in the future, even if only to say, hey, you know what? I've had this experience before. I was deeply hurt. Never again. That's a lot of power. You have the power to stop these cycles that suffer, that cause us to suffer. Okay? Very, very powerful. Very powerful. Okay? Not easy.
Lori says, you say that energy never lies, that it can only change form and follow attention. She asks, do we all have a base or consistent energy that is a part of who and what we are? Is that a part of our guidance system? Does it change depending on where attention is?
Yes, the base of who and what we are is what I would describe as our truth. Our truth is that we are divine, immortal beings. We're actually made of love, which is unconditional acceptance, not romance, lust, special love, any of those things. We're actually made of love. The structure of who and what we are at the energetic level is patience, tolerance, compassion, wisdom, knowing, divine genius, okay? These are actually our baseline. And when we're suffering, okay, that would be considered alignment. When we're out of alignment, when we're experiencing suffering, it's essentially a reminder to get back to who and what we are. And the baseline is peace. The baseline is joy. The baseline is harmony, abundance, appreciation, respect. So whenever we're out of alignment, we are not practicing whatever we need to in order to align with the truth and who and what we are. Okay, with who and what we are. And a lot of us follow false belief systems. We buy into belief systems, for example, that we might have been taught as a child, okay, that say, you're not good, you're bad, you're wrong, okay? These are not true. So if you've got any of these underlying false belief systems, and a false belief system is always something that will lead to misalignment, okay, false belief systems and ideas, thoughts, false thoughts and beliefs will lead to misalignment. Any false belief that we hold within ourselves, okay, becomes our story because we churn it, the karmic wheel, that lack of awareness, that false belief, which could also be called karma, okay, is actually the story that we're going to experience because like attracts like. So our job as the captain of our ship becomes go inside, start to challenge those false beliefs. Anything that causes you to feel out of balance, out of alignment, anything that causes you to feel crappy on any level of the spectrum is an opportunity to remember who you are, get back to that baseline, and live in harmony, ease, and flow. Does that answer your question?
Hopefully.
Okay. Again, there's so much, okay? And if I don't answer your question, send in another question and I'll address it again, okay?
Carol says she's loving Mathamagical. She just she just listened to the rules just before this, and she's thinking of like attracts like. She says, I see this played out in many ways all around us at the moment. We call it like spirits attract, a bit like when people are drawn together due to similar spirits within, i.e. forming cliques. How do you feel this divine law applies to people? Sometimes bringing out positive aspects of each other and other times bringing out negative, as it seems to happen on an unconscious level. Do you find it to be inevitable? And if so, is it on purpose?
Well, actually, Carol, you've asked a lot of questions there that I think I've really kind of already addressed, but I will say that, is it on purpose? Yes. Energy never lies. Everything is recorded. The universe is keeping track of everything. And yes, like attracts like. When we say to somebody, if we go back to the origin of language, okay, and it's very important to start to come to understand that we are word made flesh and that the words we use have power. So when we say to someone, Old English, we would say, I like you. What we're actually saying is, I'm like you. I agree with you. I resonate with you. Okay, that's the origin of it. What we now use the word like to mean is, I approve of you, I don't approve of you. I judge you, I don't judge you. Or I judge you to be like me and therefore acceptable, or I judge you to be not like me and therefore not acceptable. Okay, so that's how humans will use the word. In terms of the universe and how it does it is, yes, it is automatic, and you will automatically move into the vicinity of the company of people that are holding similar belief systems and mindsets, which we can't see, hear, taste, touch, or smell, but which are very much alive and well and resonating. So when we attract people that we resonate with, there's automatically going to be something about them that is similar in us, or the same, the mirror, okay? If we attract people in our life, and I've addressed this earlier, that are not like us and maybe representing the polar opposite, it may be it may be our opportunity to recognize there might be something deep down within us that we have denied, deflected, distorted, that we're not acknowledging, okay, that is actually a mirror for this. Or it may simply be an opportunity for us to practice forgiveness and transcendence. Don't judge them, forgive them. They know not what they do. Okay, so yes, everything is recorded and there are no accidents. Anybody who believes there's accidents, or anybody who believes in luck or coincidence, is somebody who doesn't know who and what they are yet. Okay, and this is why I encourage asking, are you honored by the company you keep, what you eat, and where you sleep? Do these choices that you're consciously making align with who and what you really are? Or are these choices ones that reflect an unconscious belief system or a conscious choice of who you are not? So energy never lies. Like attracts like is always operating. And yes, cliques will simply be people who've chosen to include anybody that's like them and exclude anybody who isn't. This is not a healthy expression of like attracts like. Okay, a clique will separate. When we remember who and what we are, we tend to get along with everybody. Okay, we tend to be able to resonate. Like you and I, Graham, we have
Mhm.
a community of people, and we're all like-minded. There's very little disharmony, and if there is disharmony, we resolve it because we've got the tools and we support one another in that resolution. Okay, so we are like-minded on the positive track. Okay, and we can have some people in certain areas of our life where we're like-minded and we resonate, and in other areas where we don't. That's okay. It's just showing you where you might want to clean things up, where you might want to make different choices so that you create alignment, ease, and flow, harmony. Because the truth, that baseline again that I just spoke about, is the truth of who and what we are. And when an individual is living in integrity, they are aligned with that truth. And they will automatically be in harmony with anybody else who's living that truth. That's essentially the great divide that mankind is going through right now. Mankind is awakening to our truth. Not all of us, but some of us. And we're seeing a divide in our families, in our marriages, in our relationships, in our communities between people that are ready to embrace that truth, take responsibility for it, and people who are not. This is a very, very challenging time. Okay? So tune in. Remember, ultimately, at the level of responsibility, you're the only one here. Anyone or anything that is outside of you that presents itself in your reality, in your story, in your experience, is an opportunity for you to grow. Is it because you're alike, or is it because you're opposite? Okay.
We give away another. May
Yes.
we give away another?
Can we?
Can
we can. We are capable.
I'm used to doing that.
These are
language.
Yes,
and that beats me up about language all the time.
But it's important. and oh, please,
proper use of words. And this is something I didn't really understand. That I would say one word and I would think of another word. I'm like, oh, it's the same. And then that's like, no. There's a different vibration. You talk about vibrations of words.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's why you're so picky about using specific language, because it's like, it would be like, in my brain, it's like the understanding of computer programming.
Okay.
If you use the wrong term, it's going to point somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right? So language has a very specific vibration.
Yes.
That points to a very specific meaning.
And we want to remember that words have been eroded. Language has been eroded. Okay. If you take a look at the average text message, we have broken it down to the point where words no longer have power. Please remember that words have power, and the words that we use have specific meanings. So somebody will say something to me, and I'll go, oh, well, this is what you mean. And they'll say, no, that's not what I mean. I meant that. And I said, no, this means this, and this means that. There wouldn't be two different words otherwise. And the more in tune we become intuitively, the more you can feel the underlying power, the origin, the creative origin of that word. Okay, so for example, if somebody is using the word hate, all right, I would never use the word hate. I try to avoid it. I can't say that sometimes I don't feel it. It's pretty intense dislike and resistance. However, that word has been used with negative connotations so many times that if you use that word, it comes with it a collective frequency that in a case like a word like hate is ever so yucky. So I encourage you to play a little game with yourself. Sit there for a moment and repeat the word hate, hate, hate over and over. Just take a moment right now and say the word. What do you start to feel rise up as you use that word? Hate, hate, hate. If you're energetically tuned in, you'll find your frequency starts to drop. You start to feel kind of crummy. Okay, so breathe in the nose, out the open, relaxed mouth, and get rid of that word. Get rid of that word. Let it go. Because it's not just a word. It's also got the collective energy attached to it by the meaning it's been given by the collective of humanity over eons of time. So now let's use the word happy. Happy, 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 happy. Watch your frequency rise. Okay, and if you're not feeling it yet, that's okay. Keep tuning in. We are absolutely capable of feeling words at such a subtle level. When I'm in sessions with people, I actually ride their words energetically. I'm listening for the words, and I'll feel a contraction, and that'll be a point where I will pull on it. And I'll say, okay, there's a contracted state there. There's either an incorrect understanding, which does not allow for ease and flow, or an incorrect use of a word, which will miscommunicate. Okay, so words are very, very powerful, and please do not underestimate them. And I encourage everybody to turn off the television and pick up a book. Okay, and the older classics are even better, and they're full of wisdom because that was when books were actually relevant. So we have a new winner. Congratulations to Joubert Elodie. Okay, I hope I
Nice.
pronounced that
I
correctly.
think that was way better than I would have done. Awesome.
Maybe I could be incorrect. I apologize if I am.
Sally will send you a free copy of Mathamagical.
Okay, great.
You guys, if you have any questions on YouTube, please write them in the chat right now, and then we'll get to a few of those. We have a few comments from people that have written in on mathamagical.com. There is a section at the bottom of the website. If you have a breakthrough or you want to share some positive story with us, please do, and then we will share it on the show.
Absolutely. Remember, enlightenment is a team sport. When you're experiencing epiphanies and breakthroughs, this is so valuable for fellow humans to recognize. It could be something they need to hear. I had somebody send me a message last night of a sunset, Susan, and Susan has no idea how much I needed it right in that moment. She was feeling a breakthrough. She was feeling inspired, and she shared it with me just at the right moment when I needed it. So please don't underestimate the power of your success.
Tammy says, I have learned so much from this journey. I only wish that it had been available to me when I was 18, 20 years old, but better late than never. I will take all that I've learned from Mathamagical journey with me forever going forward. We never stop learning, and I thank God for that. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I want to say, please don't feel with regret that you didn't have this information when you were 18 or 20. You weren't meant to. You wouldn't have been ready for it. We receive what we need when it's time. Please remember, how and when is the universe's job. Divine timing, not mine. Okay? We're never behind. You can never miss the boat. Everything happens exactly when it's meant to. So congratulations that you found it now. Don't let go. Thank you.
Patricia says, I love your podcasts. Connie says, learning to live in truth has helped me so much to draw clear boundaries. I'm less anxious about dealing with situations that immediately don't feel right. Using skills and tools to address them. I'm still learning and trusting my inner self, who I really like. Thank you, Lynette and Graham. Your message is precious. Heading up the ladder to the penthouse. Bravo and cheers.
Oh, what a great message.
What a great message.
Absolutely great message. There's somebody who's got it. Keep going. Chop wood, carry water. 1 foot in front of the other. Don't give up. Okay. Questions?
So we got, Carolyn says, we have control over but one thing, that is our thoughts.
We have control over much more than our thoughts.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's by controlling our thoughts that we gain control over other things. Okay? We gain control over our feelings because our feelings respond to our thoughts. Okay? Change your thoughts, you control the feelings. You don't like the feelings, change the thought, you change the feeling.
Christine Davies says, how do you escape from the pain that your family doles out?
Oh, well, I guess that's going to be determined by a number of different things. When you're saying that your family doles out, can you clarify for me, is that something they're projecting onto you? Or is it, for example, the experience of losing a loved one? Because that's a pain you can't avoid. So are we talking about that is being inflicted, projected upon you? If that's the case, well, there's a number of tools. First of all, I would consider the source. And please remember, anybody that's in pain, anybody that's behaving in a way that's out of balance is essentially somebody who has forgotten who and what they are. So don't take it personally, but you may need to lay a boundary. Don't invest in it. If we decide to give a lot of meaning when somebody's projecting their pain body onto us, if we decide to give that meaning, we're automatically going to suffer. Don't give it any more meaning than you need to. This is where you want to practice loving self-care, create boundaries, create space, speak your truth, do whatever you need to depending on the circumstances, okay? Don't accept it. You don't have to. You can accept that it's happening, but don't take it in, don't take it on, don't make it your problem, don't take it personally, and don't form a resentment because they don't know what they're doing. Consider the source, and I would suggest that you wipe your feet and walk away. Okay.
Aline says, great stuff, guys. How simple life would be if we could apply these tools to our everyday lives. Thanks for giving us the awareness.
If we could apply, it isn't an if we could apply.
It's when?
It's do you choose?
Or do you choose
to apply? Absolutely. You've made a brilliant observation there. It would be so much simpler. And that is what we're moving towards. This doesn't happen in groups, though. This happens at the micro individual level first. So for anybody out there who thinks that your voice doesn't have power, for anybody out there who thinks that your one being cannot make a difference, you are absolutely, completely incorrect. Because it's by becoming the captain of your own ship, by aligning yourself with the truth of who and what you are, that you gain absolute power. one that is awoken to the truth of who and what they are is equivalent in value energetically, I do believe, to about 750,000 who are still asleep. So please remember, your vote counts, your voice counts. Please do not underestimate the power of an individual sovereign being, because that is the only way to power. So, do you choose or not? It's not a could thing. It's a do you want to or not thing. Okay?
Pat says she thought she was getting the hang of mathematical rules and the keys, etc. Then she went to a job interview and she didn't feel good about it and then got into a wreck. How do you stay in the groove, she says?
Okay, well, going to the job interview and not feeling good about it. Okay, I don't know quite the circumstances of your events, Pat, but it sounds to me like not feeling good about it, which is what I would call bad jiggy jiggy, could have been your intuitive warning not to go to avoid the accident. This is a potential situation, okay? We also want to manage our expectations and recognize we're not going to be in alignment and ease and flow every single moment of every day. This is why when we're in ease and flow, we want to store up our supplies, we want to pack up our tools, we want to stock up while we're feeling good, because it is inevitable that we will go in and out of balance as we awaken. This is normal, it's natural. Do not criticize yourself. Please remember, it's not what happens to you that matters. It's what you choose to do with it. That's what counts. Okay? We're automatically going to fall down again and again and again. That's okay. It's part of the game. Not always pleasant, but it's part of the game. Don't resist that. Just stock up on the tools and the supplies that you need to get back into balance as soon as you can. And each time we overcome a challenge, each time we go out of balance and overcome that challenge, we become more adept at realigning faster and faster and faster, and it happens less and less. There are things that would have tripped me up 20, 30 years ago that don't even come into my reality now. There are things that I'm dealing with now on a day-to-day basis that 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I couldn't have even managed, let alone handled and transmuted. Okay, so baby steps. You can't climb a ladder from the top rung first. One step at a time. Do step, baby steps, but do step. Loving self-care. Okay.
We'll do one more question from you too, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Helen says, how do you apply these things, the rules, the teachings of Mathamagical, without upsetting those you love?
Well, Helen, I wish I had a really great pocket of posies for you on that one, but I don't. Okay, and this is one of the big challenges, and this is why I'm referring to what mankind's going through right now as the Great Divide and the Great Awakening. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to take everybody with us on our own awakening journey. And we need to decide whether or not we want to be responsible for taking care of somebody else's feelings based on the occasion of our behavior and choices, okay? If I'm in alignment, if I'm acting out of integrity and somebody has a problem with that, that is their problem. That is not my problem, okay? And I'm not going to make it my problem. My role, my job, my responsibility is to remain in integrity myself. If I have not deliberately done something to cause someone else to be upset, then not my monkey, not my zoo. This, I realize, is very simple, but not easy. I've gone through this myself. In fact, I don't have a relationship with my entire first family because of this very issue, okay? Sometimes we make changes other people don't like, and that helps us with the process of elimination or with boundaries. This may indicate that there are people that you need to move away from, or people that you might want to let go of completely, depending on the circumstances and the situation. And please remember this, the universe abhors a vacuum, okay? Two things cannot coexist in the same space in the same time. If the universe is asking us to let go of one kind of a relationship or a circumstance, it will automatically refill it. Once that circumstance or that person, that situation is out of the way, the universe will automatically refill it with something new. Your job becomes refilling it with a higher common denominator, a higher choice. So if we continue to tolerate people's disrespect of us, we're going to continue to experience those kinds of relationships. When we start to recognize that we can't take everyone with us, God bless them, we love them, but I have to let you go, we remember that moving forward means letting go, and that the universe will again provide this or better. I do not have a relationship with my siblings or anyone of that nature. Universe instead gave me people that I consider to be far better siblings, who respect me, who appreciate me, who understand me, especially because I'm a little bit of an unusual package right now. So I actually, from my perspective, I got way better, and I'm happy to trade up. So everybody's circumstances are going to be different. Sometimes we may find that we need to lay boundaries with certain relationships, and they can't be as connected or as deep as they used to be. I encourage you to maintain your integrity. And as you do, you may find that some of these relationships that you feel you're struggling with, you may find they start to evolve. And the people start to recognize that you're moving to a greater state of balance and peace. And they become attracted to this, because like attracts like. Okay. So again, it's going to ask you to wear a lot of different hats, ultimately remembering, okay, that human life is just a temporary experience. It's not who and what we are. And that ultimately we are all reconnected in spirit when we leave the physical, no matter what. Okay. I remember one of the last things I said to my mother was, Mom, die, leave your body. She was in a great deal of pain and a great deal of suffering. And I said, Mom, leave your body. I'll see you on the other side. And absolutely, I feel her every day. And I do communicate with her while I'm still on this side. We can do that the more developed we become. Otherwise, I'll see her on the other side. Okay? So love is eternal. The beautiful parts of any relationship that you've got will be eternal, and those will come back to you again and again. We just need to recognize sometimes we have to let go to go forward. Not easy. Lots of crying, lots of pain may be involved. Life is not easy.
Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for this episode of Reflections on the Journey, episode 6. This was chapter 10 of Mathamagical on Rules.
Okay.
So is there anything else you wanted to share? Or?
No, it's been a really long one. How long did we go today? A little bit longer than normal, I think. But
it was good. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you do want to get a chance to win a copy of Mathamagical, or you have a breakthrough, you can go to mathamagical.com and enter your information at the bottom of the website there.
Absolutely, please do. And remember, I am going forward with the Penthouse Perspective. There should be a new episode out tomorrow, and we will be taking questions and answering anything and everything that comes in regarding to this, pertaining to this subject. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us, and I want to personally thank everybody for the positive feedback and the support that you were sending my way. You have no idea how much I validate it. I appreciate the validation. Thank you.
Awesome, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers.